close to home? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything.
800-881-1672. 800-881-1672. That's 800-881-1672.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Tariffs on Canadian goods put on hold for 3 days so the U.S. and Canada could continue talks. President Trump today hinting a deal may be close. Canadian imports, including steel, cheese, and autos, facing 50% tariff hikes. Here's ABC's Alex Perchet.
This is a different provision, a different legal provision that they're using to basically justify this set of tariffs. This is something they're saying it's Section 338 of a 1930s era trade law that's never been used before. Trade analysts have actually described it as, quote, arguably dead law. So several said that it would almost immediately be challenged if these tariffs actually took effect.
Today, the U.S. hitting a grim financial milestone, marking $40 trillion with a T in national debt. The figure drawing new warnings that the pace of federal borrowing is unsustainable. In Las Vegas, the murder trial of rapper Tupac Shakur is continuing this hour. This is ABC News.
Morning with Ag News you can use.
Only on the PNW Ag Network.
It has been very difficult at times with the harvest due to wildfires and smoke.
And a farmer can anticipate very predictable yield thresholds.
Caring for natural resources is something farmers have quietly been doing for years. And the numbers don't lie.
Right here on the PNW Ag Network.
The latest Ag News, weekdays during Good Morning Northwest on 920 News Now. In a noisy advertising world, we make you heard. 7 of the top performing radio stations, ABC4, 4 News Now, and Phase 3 Digital, all powered by KXLY Brands. At KXLYBrands.com, we create the strategy, the message, and the momentum that drives customers to your business. More traffic, more sales, more growth. Let's create your breakthrough campaign. KXLYBrands.com, the perfect match for your business.
When wildfires strike, Custom Restoration Spokane team is on-site and ready to respond 24/7. From fire and smoke damage to water mitigation and reconstruction, we're here when you need us most. One partner, one call, Custom with a K, Restoration.
The power of paralyzed veterans of America can be felt everywhere. For over 80 years, PVA has been a relentless ally for veterans with spinal cord injuries and diseases like MS and ALS, and all people with disabilities. That lived experience and unmatched expertise helps PVA deliver life-changing programs and services that transform challenges into change. Today, 1.3 billion people worldwide live with a disability. PVA meets that reality with action, supporting them at every stage of life, both in their homes and throughout their communities, to build the futures they deserve. For their health, for their careers, for their families, for their lives, so they can gain the freedom and independence to thrive. That's the power of PVA. Learn more at PVA.org. In the U.S., a vehicle is stolen every 31 seconds. Protect your car. Remove valuables. Roll up your windows. Lock your doors and take your keys. Report crime to the police. And if it's insurance fraud, contact NICD at reportinsurancefraud.org. A public service message from the National Insurance Crime Bureau. You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You've still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight illnesses like pneumococcal pneumonia and RSV. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and can help protect you from getting really sick. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. See more at PfizerForAll.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft.
Oh no.
That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If we find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes to your financial accounts, we alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that can make all the difference. Save up to 30% with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
with this third hour. One of the stories that we were diving into and that we've talked a little bit about is a story in Flint of this article with the USS Lincoln. And a lot has been written about this extended deployment of this vessel. I think it's been, over 260 days now, so they've been out there for 9 months. They left in November of 25, and they said it set a modern Navy record for continuous time at sea without a port visit. Apparently, it only made a single one-day stop in Guam back in December, so like barely even a month after they left port. So it's been a while, and they're supporting operations in the Middle East and in the Indo-Pacific, and it's really being seized on, this story, all the things that have come from it, the story of families talking about sailors on board who are suicidal and they have bad food and all of this other stuff, or the toilets don't work, or they have water issues or something of that nature. And it's really being seized on by a lot of people in the media, not as just a way to really hit Republicans going into midterms, but also as a way to kind of undermine POTUS with regard to the prosecution of conflict with Iran. Well, what's the real story? Because some of the photos that we've seen, for instance, there was one photo showing what was claimed to be like the Navy missile, and there were cinder block walls, and it's like, well, I don't think that they use cinder blocks to build ships. I mean, I'm not a shipbuilder, I'm not a sailor, I'm kind of like Robot Bob with the whole thing, but pretty sure they don't use cinder blocks on naval vessels. So what's the real story? Because there's so much, and apparently everything came from like one dude. It was like one source on the ship. Lorraine, you know her, Lorraine, as the moderator for the chat, but she's also a contributor over at Chapter and Verse. And I wanted to read this one graph because I want to talk with her about this because she knows a lot of information about it. She lives on the East Coast, and she says, quote, and her piece is up at Chapter and Verse right now, by the way. She says, let me begin by saying that I am not a Navy veteran, but I am married to one. And we've been through long deployments that got extended. She writes, what I know of boat life is secondhand from my husband. He was on the Ike for 3 years. She says that she dealt with everything. And she says, we often joke that even though the military considered me his dependent, he relied on my independence at home to do his job while deployed. I love that. Lorraine, you joins us now via video. Lorraine, this was such a great piece, and if people have not read it yet, they need to go to Chapter and Verse and read it, because I don't think that there's a stone that you leave uncovered. So let's be realistic about how many people are actually complaining. What is it that, because they make it, the way the press sounds like, they sound like there's going to be a mutiny. It sounds like Pirates of the Caribbean. There's going to be a mutiny. The way that you read the press articles about this, they act like it's every sailor on the boat.
Yeah, a lot of these reports, first of all, they're coming from spouses, because they don't really have a lot of interviews with people on the boat itself. But for instance, the spouse meeting that MS Now is quoting is saying that, there were so many, complaints and everything. There were 200 people there. Even if you were to say that there was only one family member per each sailor on the boat, that's only 4% of the population on the boat. That's not that much. Both these carriers, they have over 5,000 people on them. They're basically a floating city. So of course there's going to be people who don't like what's going on. There's always going to be mental cases that happen when they're out there. There's always going to be people who don't want to do their work, stuff like that. So I don't know. My husband and I were laughing when we read some of the complaints. We were like, that's just boat life. People need to get, just man up.
Yeah, it's boat life. And you're right. And Lorraine, by the way, for those who don't know, she gets into this in the piece. Because you say, that's we talked about the maybe 30 people out of the ship's population of over 5,000. That's 0.06. And then you really get into the math of it. But then you say that as a mill spouse, that is always the complaint from the families during deployment, that they're the ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. My husband only deployed on a boat once. We got really lucky with that because he's more of a helicopter mech. So we were land-based sea duty for a while. And when you're land-based sea duty, they deploy. They go out to different areas around we were stationed in Italy, so it was around Europe and the Middle East. And when they're back at home, you're lucky if you see them. They work 12 to 14-hour days because it's a C-duty command. And we had a commander who, like, every time we had a spouse meeting, because they always have to try to make the families happy, he would be like, oh, you know, a happy wife is a happy sailor. What can we do to make you happy? And we'd be like, well, you're working our guys too hard. They're working 12, 14-hour days. We barely see them. And his response was always, it's sea-duty. You're lucky you see them at all. Like, okay. So, yeah, it's stuff like that it's just the way the Navy is. Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna go for stretches of time without seeing your family member. That's especially if they're on a boat.
Right. Yeah.
And every boat deployment gets extended. If they tell you you're going out for 6 months, just plan for 8. You know, like every deployment gets extended. It's just the way that it is.
Now, you say this deployment was made harder by supply issues because no one expected Iran to fling missiles at all of its friends in the area.
Yeah.
And that is true. I mean, you know, this stuff is, you know, it's kinetic. I mean, things happen and stuff comes up, and that's kind of how it goes. But this isn't unusual, what you say and what your husband says. And I've heard this from a lot of other sailors that have listened. I've gotten emails from folks, and they're like, yeah, they're like, it may be longer, but the issues that they're dealing with are pretty routine, as you described in the post, whether it's, you know, the bathroom issues, the water issues, the mail, apparently, like, and the ship store. I mean, that's all, like, that's part of, as you say, boat life.
But yeah, it's part of boat life. They did have some supply issues. The Navy got that fixed really quickly. We have a person in chat who says he's got a friend on, you know, his wife has a friend on the boat or something, who says that they don't have any issues with food. So, you know, that's, you know, take that with grain of oil, you know, whatever what you want. But the leadership did tell the spouse groups are always fun. The leadership did tell the spouse group that they did have some supply issues for a short period of time right after Bahrain got hit. And I mean, people are like, there's the New Republic is out there going, oh, headsets hid this from the American people that this, well, that's called OPSEC. It's operational security. You don't want to tell the enemy that they hurt you in any way. You don't want to tell the enemy that, you know, where you're moving your silo and stuff like that. So force-based intelligence.
Yeah, that's just common sense, you know, and these are the same people that got mad at Texas, too, when it came out that, you know, for the guys that were getting ready to go in combat, they were getting to go to state dinners, which is also routine, from what all, you know, the best I know and our family and our friends have said. So they get mad when you give them state dinner, and then they get mad, hey, what is this? Let's pick one. They need to pick a narrative.
Yeah, the state dinner thing is more of an Army thing, but it's really just any group, like if you're getting steak and lobster, you know something bad's about to happen to you.
Yeah.
So,
You're going to get it.
yeah, So we have no idea how many people went nuts. We have no idea how many people struggled with that. It's routine on a deployment like this. I looked it up, and in America, 19% of American adults are being actively treated for depression at any one time, but during a deployment, 25 to as much as 50% of sailors will, chart as having indicators for depression. And that's just because of boat life. It's tough. Yeah. But this is just, it seems to me that it's all about trying to make Trump look bad, trying to turn the American people against any of this conflict stuff, trying to make all of this look bad, and just playing into this narrative of, this forever war, and they don't know what they're doing, and Trump's not really helping himself with all this back and forth. But at the same time, all of these complaints that are coming out about the Lincoln, they're just standard complaints about boat life. That's just how it is. There's always water shortages because, and yeah, you're a floating city on the ocean, but you have to desalinate that water in order to use it. Yeah. So, if the desalination runs into trouble, then there's a water shortage. That's just how it is. Hot water is a luxury on a boat because of that kind of stuff. So, all of this is just normal boat-like complaints for the most part. Yeah, there was a little bit of time where there was some shortages because of the supply chain issue, but they've gotten that corrected. Yes, the mail is still slow getting to that boat, but that's because the leadership all said they prioritize food, and then they prioritize hygiene stuff like toothpaste and whatnot for the ship's store, where sailors can go buy they need extra toothpaste or whatever, they can go buy it there. So they prioritize that stuff above the mail, and the mail's at the bottom. Yeah. Which is frustrating a lot of families because they send care packages out during these shortages, and then if we don't have the care packages supposed to get there, if they're having trouble getting the food there. Think about it, Yeah, that makes sense. This is a great piece. Everybody needs to go read it because she goes in, she pretty much fits the whole narrative, which, and you made such a great point with the limits. They didn't care then, all of a sudden they care now because they can use it to hurt on a couple of different fronts, which is also reading about boat life. It just makes me so grateful for our sailors because I would claustrophobic sitting in front of his bed. So please give your husband our thanks for his service. And then, of course, for you, because you kept it all brought down while he's deployed. So we appreciate both of y'all. Thank you so much, Lori and Mariana. And of course, give our best to your husband. We'll talk again. I will. Thanks so much. So this is USS Lincoln is only news because the election season. We're going to go read it right now. As we move, wrapping up our third hour, our partners are bringing you programs. It is not a replacement. It's an option for when your options are limited. Because I have a firearm, I carry it. I have zero problem using lethal force to deter a threat or to stop a threat affecting me or my loved one. But one of the big things that made me really start thinking about Berna and diversification is when your kids are going to college, right? Maybe they don't live on the dorm on campus. Maybe they live in student housing and they have to walk to campus. They have to walk to class at night, but they're not 21, so they can't carry a handgun. What are you going to do? What are you going to use? Especially if you live in an area where you've got a little bit of an increase in crime. Stun guns and taser, 1 or 2 rounds. The Berna CL, that's the compact launcher model. Don't just regard that, just CL is what you need to know about. Let's think about the size of an iPhone, 15-round shot capacity per cartridge. So what does that cartridge entail? What does it shoot? Chemical irritant projectile that can deter threats from up to 60 feet away. And right now, they have a back-to-school sale. It's 25% off. They're not calling it a back-to-school sale. I am. 25% off right now during their biggest sale ever. But the sale ends Monday, August 24th. So this is another tool in your kit. Like I said, there's times that you are barred from exercising your Second Amendment rights, but your security still matters. So diversify. You carry different calibers, you carry blades. This is another tool in that kit. It's not a replacement, but an option you'll be glad to have when your options are limited. Here's the last thing. There's no background checks. There's no fees. And when you buy it online, they send it to your house. It doesn't care about gun percent because it's not gun. Berna.com/Dana to learn more. So Berna CL. BYRNA.com/Dana.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax relief
Tax relief advocates. Real solutions for real people. The fight for America's freedom is happening right now in our courts, and the decisions made today will help shape the country we leave to the next generation. That's why I need to tell you about Alliance Defending Freedom. Alliance Defending Freedom is leading the fight for free speech, religious liberty, parental rights, the sanctity of life, and the truth that men and women are biologically different. They help win major legal victories, including helping overturn Roe v. Wade and securing a landmark free speech victory at the Supreme Court. That's a fight of member. Right now, ADF is defending women's rights and standing up for our constitutional freedoms. But they can't do it without patriots like you. Right now, your gift will go twice as far. Every dollar you give will be matched. So that means the $25 gift becomes $50. A $50 gift becomes $100. But this match is for a limited time. If you believe America is worth fighting for, don't wait. Join the fight today at joinadf.com/Dana or text Dana to 83848. That's joinadf.com/Dana or text Dana to 83848. We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-497-9852. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-497-9852. That's 800-497-9852. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
60 Seconds of Service. 60 Seconds of Service is presented by T-Mobile. Those who serve, save. Military families get exclusive savings with T-Mobile, America's best network according to Google speed test, so you can stay connected wherever duty calls. Visit t-mobile.com/military-savings to learn more.
Veterans on board guard have become too much to handle alone. Sheriff Conyer and fellow TAV Chapter 19 volunteers arrived with tools toward 2026 Community Impact Day. In 3 hours, they raked, cut dead branches, dug weeds, and hauled away debris. The veteran regained more than a tiny property. He recovered a place to sit, read, and the small Milwaukee mission shows how veterans apply focus to local service, define gather the team, and deliver a result that stores comfort, pride, and control to a neighbor's daily life. Brought to you by Prevagen. Prevagen is the #1 pharmacist-recommended memory support brand. You can find Prevagen on the vitamin aisle in stores everywhere.
Listen as students and young adults interview well-respected CEOs on our national radio show, RealWorldLeaders.org, to learn secrets for success and how to use them to propel their career.
This was not over the summertime. I learned that any obstacle that you take, step into your foot, and you can keep on pushing. My grades dropped, and then I had to figure it out, and I just to get help.
So many people are so afraid to ask questions that they would rather make a mistake. And I would rather they own up to maybe they're not 100% sure, and let's get it right the first time.
Mike, how important is that for someone who realizes they may have a need and they need some support, that they're able to reach out and ask for help?
That goes back to the comment I made about being self-aware and being willing to accept your weaknesses and looking for help.
To hear more and to help us introduce your high school, TV, work-ready, and college students to our CEOs, visit our website at realworldleaders.org. That's realworldleaders.org.
Subscribe to the Dana Show podcast, because who says you can't make fun of people while staying informed on your own personal time? Subscribe on YouTube, Apple, wherever you get your podcast.
Welcome back to the program. I'll have something, I'm going to write something up that gets into the election stuff in Florida that will be up in chapter first. You can go and check that out. And of course, make sure you read about the U.S. presidential that's up there, because that's a very big deep dive, and it answers like every single question that you may have as to how the, like, why is it being used? Why is it being presented this way? What's actually happening? actually speaking out. It gets into everything. There's links to grass. And we'll go read it. And I'll have something else separately about the school bus stuff. Because I think it's important that so many people are trying to use that as a way to like take out of the ashes some kind of like podcast listing narrative that is not going to happen. Now tomorrow we have Carol Law, correct? On the burrito economy. The burrito economy, which I don't know why burritos are so difficult, but there we are. There we have it. All right, in the meantime, today's stupidity game.
All right. This one is from the left coast. Obviously, California is known for wasting money on a lot of things, whether it be rail projects or homelessness, giving drugs to the... that sort of stuff. Well, Karen Bass is now out there because she wants to be reelected, and she says now if you donate, that the city, we're talking tax dollars, are going to match your donation 6-1 with tax dollars. So I couldn't believe it. So let's hear her say it.
Your donation to our campaign is more critical right now than ever before. Let me explain. Thanks to LA's Supermatch program, every qualified donation from Los Angeles residents is matched 6-1 by the city. But after the first year, we had to start over from scratch. Wait, so tax dollars are being used to match donations to her campaign. How is that even legal?
A level of absurdity I could not believe. So it falls under stupidity. And I could not. I'm beside myself.
That's crazy.
I feel so bad for LA residents. I mean,
I just think they've got to vote differently.
It's bad if they're money raising, if they have to invoke the city to match it 6 times.
I mean, don't they have other problems?
Oh, yeah.
Crime,
Oh, yeah.
homeless population, LPBC, crime, more crime. It's the same. So that does it for us today, folks. Find us over at Substack, YouTube and Facebook. Like and subscribe. Download the podcast. I'll be with you tomorrow.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them. They have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go. And that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
From the Altmeyer Financial Group studio, retire with Altmeyer. This is 920 News Now. KXLY Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, a KXLY brand station.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Talks are off between the U.S. and Iran. President Trump says he will not commit to a new round of talks yet, but says the U.S. has control over the Strait of Hormuz, even though Iran claims its blockade remains in effect. The president says he is opening up talks again with North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un, who maintains close ties with Iran. The president telling reporters today he expects to meet with the dictator at some point this year.
Can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. And I know Kim Jong-un very well, and he's going to be fine.
At least 431 salmonella cases across 32 states have been tied to now recalled jalapeno peppers, according to numbers posted by the CDC today. This includes a total of 57 hospitalizations and an increase of 86 cases, 21 hospitalizations, 5 states since the last update in early August. The age of those illnesses range from 1 to 85 years old. The jury in the Lindsay Clancy trial sent home early today, the judge telling them due to unforeseen circumstance. The judge telling the jury not to speculate, but to return tomorrow for court to resume. The mother is charged in the murders of her 3 young children. Defense attorneys say Clancy had postpartum psychosis and did not receive adequate treatment. ABC's Peter Carlumbus is following the case.
They largely heard cross-examination from prosecutors who pointed out that these voices